Today I'm just going to pull this radiator out of this 80 Dodge pickup. I just thought I'd do a radiator removal. Most know how, but there's always somebody who has it and wants to see how it's done. I'll explain a couple of things and even why I'm doing it. But we'll get started. So yours may not look exactly like mine. You might have a nice fan shroud coming over your fan, and that's not a problem. I don't have that, but if you do, there's just 4 little bolts that you can take off and slide around over your fan, and it'll remove the exact same way. Some may even have a form of a transmission cooler down here, and but that won't stop nothing either. If you got an air condition, you're gonna have a other radiator type looking junk up here for the air condition. As you can see, we do not, but we're going to remove this, and it won't take long at all. Number one is, if your engine's hot, don't do this. You got to let it cool, get down to where it's cool. But I'm going to start by removing this, and like it says, do not remove hot. And then right there, and we're at the driver's side, is that little petcock you got to open, and you hope it don't break off. We'll see what this does. I got my container under there. There, it broke loose, and I'm just going to remove it. And there we go. We'll let it drain. That antifreeze is 100% reusable, so I try to contain it, and then I'll pour it into a clean container. And the reason why I remove the radiator cap is it's kind of like the siphoning thing. It's got a hole up here it can siphon from, a nice bigger one. It might have done the job through this overflow too, but it works better this way. Now to remove the radiator overflow, which I got it going into just a container, but yours might have a plastic container up here. Right up here would be a normal big plastic container, and that might bolt on in some way. Easy to remove. For me, I'm just going to do this. Next will be the radiator holes. Just a regular screwdriver. There's actually a hex on here that you can put a small socket on and do it that way too. But for me, I'm just going to put this in here and break that loose. Once you get the clamp loose, that should just slide right on off. And I just twist this a couple times and out she comes. And the top radiator holes really doesn't put much for antifreeze in there. Sometimes you'll get a little bit on top of your thermostat, but in my case, I got a small hole drilled in there, so it'll drain right out of there. Another benefit of that hole. Next, we loosen this clamp, which is obviously too big for this holes, but slid that back. And then I'm going to twist this back and forth. And so I got a container underneath there because a lot of times you'll get a gush of antifreeze out of this too. And it's hard to do holding the camera. There we go. Just a little trickle, I guess, out of this one. Now, as for the transmission lines where they go in, you may have a line that screws in like that. And then when you take the radiator out, these will continually drip. So you got a lot of options. The best one and fastest one is if you got a regular 1/2-inch right-handed lug nut like this that's enclosed. This right here will just screw right in like that. And if you just barely snug it like that, it won't leak. If you got this sticking out of your transmission line, if you just get a wheel stud that's about the same thread as this, you can screw that into there. So there's lots of ways to stop it from dripping and leaking. It just depends on what your fittings look like and what you got to do. As you can see, I got these hoses. I can just wiggle that off like that. And I got the same thing on this side. So you'll have just 4 bolts that hold the radiator in. On this case, I put this in so it's got a nut on each side. You only have to take off the top 2, and the bottom ones are slotted, so you can just back them halfway out and the radiator will pick right up on them. I'll remove them and you'll see. And she should just come straight right on out. And what I did is I just did this. I did this loop here. Here, I'll bring it up here, you can see it. I tied the two transmission lines together like that. And the reason why I did that, because I'm going to want to drive this up on the ramps. Yes, you can start it and run it without a radiator, but only for like a minute if it's cold. So as you can see, it'll run. I'm not leaking transmission fluid. I'm not blowing any antifreeze out the hoses because it's below the water pump. And I could drive it up on the ramps right now or pull it onto the concrete so I can get underneath there or whatever I need to do. You want to be careful, you know, that you don't want to run it very long like that because it'll start to heat up really quick. So it'll run long enough if I had to drive it up on ramps so I can loosen stuff. What am I even doing this for? I'll tell you. I'm way behind the clock. But I wanted to have an RV 440 in here for opening day for test and tune, and I wanted to make a pass with it. But I'm at least a couple weeks behind. We've had snow, ice, freezing weather, and then rain. So I'm behind the 8-ball a lot. But we're starting on it now. And, you know, what little time I have. Today is actually Easter evening. So April 5th is that? Anyways, that's the purpose. What am I going to do with the 440? Go slower. Most people never put a 440 or any engine swap to go slower, but I'm different. I'm an odd duck. So what we had here was a 200,000 mile 5.9 Magnum, a Craigslist motor, $150. And we just threw an air gap on it, a small regrind cam with some Hughes valve springs, and 430 gear, ran a 12 90s consistently in the quarter mile, 815 in the eighth. It does have a off-the-shelf cheap Hughes converter. I think I gave 400 and some for that. That's it. Transmission was a freebie and never even pulled the pan. This engine ended up being free. I never even pulled the pan. I just put it in there, sold how it ended up being free is I sold some parts off of that 5.9 that I wasn't going to use, like the wiring harness, exhaust manifolds, whatnots like that. And I got back my 150. So it was really on the cheap. That's why you kind of see things the way they are. The 440 is not going to run as good because it's just a low compression pig of an engine, inefficient. I just wanted to see what it would do if I put it in there, that's all. Maybe I do something with the 440 later.